I would like to invite now the panelists to join in. I invite the moderator, the president of the Association of Exporters in Chile, Iván Marambio, to take control of this panel of discussion. Thank you, Gustavo. Good afternoon, good evening. And while all the panelists are taking a seat, I would like to mention that many people ask me for Miguel Canale, the general manager of ASOEX. Miguel is in Argentina now, in a visit with the SAG, with the inputs for the grapefruits, grape moth, pardon, sorry, in Chile. He has been engaged in this work very hardly for many years regarding the grape moth. So I wanted to start by presenting the panelists. First of all, Cristian Tagle. He is the commercial manager of Garces Fruit. Andrés Fuenzalida, the general manager of Cope Fruit. Orieta, sorry, Ramirez, the general manager of Frusan. Claudio Vial, general manager of Ranco Cherries. And Gonzalo Salinas from Rabobank. So this is the last panel of this evening, and I imagine that you are exhausted, but you must be willing to hear from the comments from the panelists. So I would like to start out with you, Claude. And this is concerning a comment that has been made lately in the media about the success of the cherries season. Apparently, this is very successful from the point of view of figures, but if we delve into it, it's not so successful. The media have elaborated on that, and the panelists said that this is an enthusiastic industry achieving new heights, new levels. So, do you think this is actually the case? A very good question. Well, I do think that this is a very motivating season, and we are all smiling much more as compared to a few years ago. This has been a very successful season, and the reasons for that has been explained already, including the coordination, the logistics, and maybe this is the perfect match between the supply and offer and demand from China. We had also a very stable season for prices, has been steady with normal results, and I would say that the business is working well for everybody, which was not the case in the previous years. And we are enthusiastic about it, but we should not forget. And I will try to say a few figures about what we expect for the future. According to the census, we have 70,000 hectares planted, 40,000 of them are under production. Well, it's increasing by 2,000 hectares per um, annum, and we have 60 more million boxes that are expected for the next coming seasons. And the challenge is giant. As a matter of fact, we are thrilled, but we have to be very cautious because we need to consolidate and let this phase mature. So I think that is a description for what I see into the future. Orieta. Next year, 2024, the Chinese New Year is on February 10th, which is a late date. So that is to say, 19-day difference. And maybe a factor for concern. As a matter of fact, taking into account what a panelist said, apparently the reason for the good prices in China is not the result of the new year, but the time of arrival between the fourth and the fifth week. Maybe now the question. Apparently, with a longer delay or a date later, we have more time to plan things and we can ship later too. Yes. First of all, this year we applied this approach, and we're clear that the cherries should be packed and sent out as soon as possible, even though the new year is later now. Will not wait for that to happen with the fruit in Chile. So I think that the price of week number 5 is much more linked to a variety rather than to something happening in the market and the price goes down. And is, this is also related to the lunar cycle. So the harvest should also be later. And which is this the variety you are mentioning, Regina? Christian. Following the same line of thoughts, relying on a date or doing always the same things we have done and seeing how the season will behave and expecting the same thing to happen. I wonder which is the effect of sending out poor quality fruits or sizes that are not those that the customer expects. Apparently, the XL size is not likable for the Chinese consumer. So, which is the final effect, regardless of the fact that the A company sends good quality cherries and the Z company sends bad quality? Well, there is an effect. We should understand that the market evolves and never ceases to evolve. Somebody said that Jumbo is the new XL, and I do agree. I do agree with this statement, but we should not forget that there are more and more Chinese people who are buying. There is a number going around there that says that there are 400 or 500 million cherries that are Chinese people who are not consuming the cherries. So you calculate, and we see that there is still a leeway, room for further growth. So the people who have never bought the cherry, cherries will buy the jumbo or the XL and different categories or sizes. So I think that this evolution is permanent and we should continue to improve quality with no doubts. Because I deteriorate the price because I tend to have less demand and I can improve by having better size. As Orieta said, we'll have the new year later, but we should not relax because the best success of this industry resides in having fresh fruit, healthy fruit at all times. And if something jeopardizes this, will not be doing well. And not because we have the later year. We should not forget that for in terms of profits. Last week we were in New Zealand and we were with Cespri. Cespri had a ratio, the consumer of kiwi, and they said that a consumer who eats a bad kiwi is not going to buy a kiwi for a few days, regardless of the origin. Do you think that the same applies to cherries because most of the cherries are Chilean. But if I buy a bad cherry, do you think that the people will not continue to buy a cherry? Yeah, fully agree. We saw that in January 2021 when the market paralyzed and the confidence decayed, and therefore the the trust was lost, and this is the only thing that is going to support it is the constant or consistent quality. Andrés, I have a report or a listing of the most mentioned words in this Cherry Summit, and the most alluded one is promotion. Most of the panelists have said that Chile should not stop promoting, but rather increase the promotion, and I fully agree with that. Do you think now that there is still room to increase the promotion activities because you finally are financing that in the media?
Good afternoon. Yes, I think promotion is essential to get our product out to the public and make it well known. In China, the product is well known in the main cities. However, there is still room for improvement in tier 2 and 3 cities. And for that, we need promotional campaigns, not only in China, but also developing other markets. We are required to diversify because we are too concentrated in China. However, if our product is not well known, we will not reach good prices or prices that makes us able to diversify. So this is our responsibility as industry. And every company have the duty to promote their own product as well if they believe this is convenient. Claudio. I have heard US buyers complaining about the amount of fruit that we send to China. Not so much the quantity, but the quality. Do we send worse fruit to the United States? That's a hard question because each company has its strategy, but we have hard data that was shown by Marcel that showed the calibers in United States get a lot of L and XL, and the smaller calibers is means weaker fruit. However, there is some of that, yes. We send very good quality fruit to the United States, especially in the late business season. Is it a strategy, like the industry recommends not to send certain sizes after a certain date? Could it be a, a strategy to send better quality to the United States, trying to diversify the market? I think there is a relevant piece of data shown by Claudio in the morning regarding the next 3 years in terms of Santina volume. Also, another presentation showed that we lacked early volumes for Christmas sales. So what will happen in 2 or 3 years is that the increasing Santina volume, there will be more availability of this product at a more competitive price that will allow us to reach other markets with Santina at earlier stages. So this is a huge opportunity. Orieta. You are strong in India, Frusan. So what is the real situation in India? How can we be successful in India with our cherries? Well, in terms of diversification, as Andrés mentioned, there are several points. First, to diversify, nowadays will mean a market that will pay you less than China. So you have to explain to the farmers that we are diversifying. Secondly, there is no other market capable of absorbing the volumes that China does. Other markets, due to its size, could be India, but Indians don't know cherries. In China, they have known cherries for millennia. It's red, it's round, and it's close to their New Year's date. So we have a competitive advantage also that we don't pay taxes like apples and other fruits. So we are doing well in that sense. However, we need to promote that. And after promoting it, so people get to know cherries, we need to work in logistics because nowadays averages are 50 to 60 days. And nowadays cherries would not make it. So first, after working in promotion, will create the demand and then address logistics. But it could be a very good replacement and a very good partnership not to depend so much on China. Another market, any other market that you think is key to address in a more comprehensive way? I think the United States, they remain as big consumers, and we must continue to promoting it because they just don't believe in us anymore because they do consume it, and but they are expecting better and more cherries. Korea is also mentioned a lot, but it's a much smaller market and it's limited. We're happy because we sold in 1 week 50 to 60 containers, and in China we're talking about 2,000 containers a week. So I don't think it's an alternative actually due to its size. Thank you. We saw that in the case of blueberries and grapes, the limitation has been the late variety replacement. How do you see that in terms of cherries? How can we start now including variety replacement in the equation and in the discussion and not wait until it is a need and an emergency? I think that we must learn the lessons that some species are teaching us, those that are suffering the most. We now have to get ahead of problems and really see the fruits that bloom earlier or later and those that have more quality. It's hard to tell farmers to take risks because there are varieties nowadays that are knowingly profitable. However, the responsibility of each producer is to really protect the sustainability of their business. And experimenting with new varieties in a very limited and very reasonable and sound way is a good choice. Christian, what are the productive challenges that you see for us, the main production challenges, and how can we improve our product looking into the future? Well, there are several. I think that first we need to flatten the peak curve. If today we have 3 weeks of peak with more than 50% of the volume, we have to reach 5 to 6 weeks. And like Claudio said, the amount of Santina planted is following the right track. There is a huge installed capacity for packing and for harvesting, so we have to use these resources to try to flatten out the curve and increase the amount of days and productivity, because that will make us more competitive too and better prepared for when prices go back to its normal levels after the drops. Claudio, to close this panel and the Cherry Summit, I believe that it is important to convey a key message. something that people can take away and something that the industry should be wary of or concerned about for the future and start working now? I think that the lessons we learned in the last 3 years, going back to what Orieta said, is agility in selling. This is from harvest to end consumer, processing the fruit to really ship it as soon as possible and get it to the market as quickly as possible. So once we do that, the end consumers will have a good experience and will buy again. And that's what we must ensure. Gonzalo, well, I don't know if I should concentrate on the short term, and I don't know what the range of long term is really. I went to China 10 years ago for the first time, and I saw in December fruit shops selling US cherries. We went from that situation to what we just saw in the presentations, how TikTok or Douyin in that case is one of the most used platforms, something that we was unthinkable 5 years ago. So China, they change really fast, and I want to know. I'm wondering what could happen in 10 years because years ago we didn't export blueberries, and now we have millions in exports. So we need to really learn from the last 3 years, especially. I think we have overcome some really difficult tests, and the industry has shown strength to overcome challenges and get ahead. So I think that this has to do with partnerships most of all. I would say this to have a long term view, just see how we'll handle these big harvests that are coming up, and really keep the partnerships and grow the partnerships within the industry that we have seen can generate very positive results. I think that the base or the foundation for successful product is quality. We need to work on production, packing, logistics with the lowest transit times possible to reach the market with a good quality product. Also, sizes L and XL are really skinny fruits. Like I said, it's not what the public really wants. They only buy it because it's often the cheaper option. So the message to importers and traders is that not to speculate. I think that the good season had to do with no speculation. The fruit came down from the vessels, from the ships, and they were sold immediately. There was no time to speculate. They had to sell it. There was no time to store the fruit and to make its flavor change and to change the fruit. So quality, and try not to speculate and sell the fruit as soon as possible. Andres, first of all, let's be optimistic. History has shown that all the stakeholders involved in this business are able to get good results being responsible. And this has been, in general, a very successful industry. And into the future, I think that it is important to work in agreement, especially between farmers and exporters, because we need to address challenges. And if we are not aligned, it will be very difficult. For instance, diversification. If we want to do that, we need to really reach consensus because exporters, like Orieta said, will have to spend more. Farmers as well. However, we need to make comparisons. A company that diversifies in a responsible manner often will pay farmers more because they didn't get their same returns as in China. But with time, and that will make people more reluctant to diversify and expand to new markets. Last year and the year before, we did poorly in a specific part of China, and producers would say, please diversify. But we hadn't done that for 10 years, and every time someone will do that, it will be very costly. So we need to be responsible and really agree on these things to really try to do that, because it's easy to say let's diversify, but then we look at the numbers and there's very little diversification, because this requires a level of effort that is up, which is the responsibility not only of a few but of the entire industry. Christian, please, two messages, final remarks. One wearing your commercial manager hat, and the other one with the Cherry Committee chairman hat.
I will convey messages, three concepts rather. I think that there are three important topics as a committee. First of all, we should take care of safeguarding the healthy issues because this is impacting everyone, the small, medium, and big size. And we have, for example, problems of fruit flies in over 16 of these events beyond the districts of cherries, but we have to manage this phenomenon that is getting worse and worse because of immigrants and the bad control of borders. But this is impacting cherries a lot. So we also have the problem of orchards that are not registered. But these are things that are enabling the business because all we have discussed here is not possible if we don't have the certification from SAG, which is vital. Secondly, we should highlight promotions. There are many speakers who said that, and I would like to save a statement that said, Oma, the cherries imported from China are Chilean, and therefore the promotion has a saying in all of that. And this is part of the pride as an industry to achieve what we have done. So I do believe that we have to continue and also having injecting more resources because the market share is growing too. Well, we should celebrate this event, Gustavo, and your team because this allowed all the players of the chain to be synced and the shipping companies, the grower, the exporters, everybody is garnered together. And we don't know how long these good times will continue to be a reality. So I think that in other industries there is not this possibility. So we are proud for all of that, and thanks to all of you. So we conclude here the panel, and we'll take a picture now. Thank you very much. We would like to thank Iván Marambio and Mrs. Orieta, Ramirez, Andrés Fuenzalida, Cristian Tagle, Claudio Vial, and Gonzalo Salinas for this huge panel with very transparent information. And thank you very much. And before saying goodbye, I would like to thank once again our sponsors, platinum sponsor, Orto and Guido, Marinetti, Hapag-Lloyd, and Global Reefers. Our gold sponsors Unitec, AG Business, Mediterranean Shipping Company, Smurfit Kappa, UCC, Cargo and Logistics Solutions, Sur Logística, Fester Marine, Stoller, Southport Shipping, and Shell and Fresh. And finally, our silver sponsors Impact Seaport Alliance, Innovac, Pacific Trellis, and Chantian International Containers Terminals. We wish you a very good evening, and we'll see you the same week in the Sherry Summit 2024.